He's Tim.
And he's Harry.
And we're about to turn paper sideways.
You're listening to Turn Paper Sideways, the podcast where we talk about cardboard and rotating it 90 degrees.
We talk about all things Magic the Gathering, from current affairs to our favourite format, Commander. And in today's show, we are celebrating Commander Christmas and giving you our thoughts on the Commander 2018 Precon decks.
Before we get into that, you can find us on Twitter at TPSMTG.
You could send us an email at turnpapersideways@gmail.com, say hi, tell us how you're enjoying the podcast, or you could complain at us that your dinner got stuck to your pan and you can't clean it off.
Ah, did that happen to you?
No, not today. I was careful.
Good. I made pizza today with a pizza oven and it almost got stuck, but it didn't because I'm really good at it, so...
Proud. Very proud of you.
Thanks. You can rate us on iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean or Overcast or Pocket Cast, whatever you use. Give us 5 stars. It goes a long way to helping people find us and growing the Turn Paper Sideways family.
Yeah, and you can also support us by going to patreon.com/turnpapersideways, and we are really grateful for any financial support you can give. It goes a long way in keeping the podcast going. And you can also find us on YouTube now. Just search for Turn Paper Sideways and you will find us. Tim, do you want to do the news?
I do. We have had a competition and we've got some winners. Harry, who are the winners?
The winners are from Twitter at Skylar Ashby and from YouTube Agent MLP412. Congratulations, you have won yourselves 2 packs of Battle Bond each. We will be getting in touch to get your details and we will have them on their way to you as soon as possible. Let's get into the main topic after this ad.
Let me ask you a question. Have you been living the Tier 2 life to the fullest?
Welcome to Fishin', a podcast where we discuss a deck with pun potential that's off the scales.
From deck techs to sideboard guides to gameplay videos and in-depth Dirk Diggler speculation, there is guaranteed to be something for you.
So look for Fishin', a Merfolk podcast wherever you find your podcasts, and at Fishin'MTG on all the social media sites. We'll see you on the net.
Harry, we are very excited because
we are.
This happens once a year. We get Commander Precons.
Commander
They're
Christmas.
sticking with 4. Are you excited? After 10?
So, when the spoilers started and all the way from Monday through to the end of Thursday, I was really excited, yes.
And then what happened?
And then the full deck list was spoiled and I'm not as excited anymore.
Oh, that's so sad. That's such a sad turn of events. It would have been so much better if you were completely unenamoured with the set until the full set was spoiled, and then you were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy all 4.
I agree. Yeah. I was sort of like that with Battle Bond and M19. So,
dear.
So are you excited still?
I'm still excited, but I'm pretty much always excited about something.
Agreed.
So at the moment, it's Commander 2018.
Great. Well, we've got 4 decks in different themes, and we're just going to go over each of them, the new cards, the new commanders, and what we think about each deck. So the first one is an Is It deck. Is It artifacts?
It is.
Exquisite Invention.
So the face commander for Exquisite Invention is a Planeswalker. Oh, Harry, you love Planeswalker commanders.
Yeah, my
Just
favourite.
kidding. He doesn't. The first one, we'll just get straight into it, is Saheeli the Gifted. For 2, a blue and a red, you get a legendary Planeswalker Saheeli with 4 loyalty. +1, create a 1/1 colourless servo artifact creature token. +1, 2 +1s. The next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control as you cast it. And for -7, for each artifact you control, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. This is quite similar to Saheeli's last ability on the actual Planeswalker from a real set, which broke standard. So that's fun.
Yeah, in Commander, I think this is sort of underpowered. I really like the middle ability. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not broken because it's only the next spell, not every spell you cast for the rest of the turn. But
kind of like ramp.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm really excited about. If you've got loads of Thopter tokens, you're going to cast a Blightsteel Colossus really cheaply. The ultimate seems not really like an ultimate. It seems like
it does
wishy-washy.
seem like a -2.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty bland. You'd expect. I think if the tokens weren't exiled, it would be a Planeswalker ultimate. But because you exile the tokens at the end of the turn, it's not that great.
Yeah, no, it's just setup cost. It's not good. The fact that you say, but if you've got all of these awesome artifacts out, well, you've already got those awesome artifacts out. So copying them and then getting rid of them, it doesn't seem very worth it.
Unless they've got really amazing Enter the Battlefield effects, but I can't think of many artifacts which have Enter the Battlefield effects.
No. And if they do, they probably just draw a card.
Something like that, yeah. So anyway, Saheeli...
Underwhelming.
It's all right. But we've got Tornos, Urza's Apprentice, as our next legendary creature. This is blue and red for a 1/3 legendary human artificer with haste. It's got blue and red, tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an artifact source. You may choose new targets for the copy. So it's a little bit like Rings of Brighthearth or Strionic Resonator, which are both fairly broken.
And it can be your commander.
Yeah, so this is a combo on a stick, I think. This is just... I think Tornos is going to make some pretty broken artifact decks. But even if it doesn't, that effect is a lot of fun, and there's potential for some really good decks. And I think this might be the blue-red artifact commander people have been wanting for a while.
Yeah, the fact that it's activated and triggered is what makes this not suck. If it was just one, it would be too narrow, I think, as a commander. I think so. But it's both. So if you've got tap abilities or you've got triggered abilities, I can't think of any on the top of my head. This is really sweet. And the fact that you choose when you do it, you can only do it once, but you can do it on the turn you play it if you've got the mana, because it's got haste. I like this. If the activated or triggered ability has anything to do with untapping anything, then it becomes scary. Other than the having to pay the mana cost, the blue and the red for it, this is where it becomes kind of like he's got Tornos out sort of thing in the future. The next card is Broodaclad Telcor Engineer. Say that 10 times fast. Broodaclad Telcor Engineer for 4 blue-red. It's a 4/4 legendary artificer. This is important. It's a legendary artifact creature artificer. So it's an artifact itself, which is good. Creature tokens you control have haste. That's awesome. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 blue mere artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. This card is stupid. It's so cool.
Yes, it is.
If you have a bunch of 1/1s tokens, and then you get one big octopus 8/8 token out, they're all 8/8 octopuses. This is so cool. The fact that it makes mirrors is cool. So Mirror Battlesphere is a really fun, silly card. This makes mirrors for your Mirror Battlesphere.
This is my favourite of these three. Of the Izzet commanders, this is definitely my favourite. It's a real Johnny commander. I think you can get some awesome combos going. But it's also a really cool Timmy commander, because you can just flood the board with lots of stuff and then make all that stuff bigger. So I'm really keen on this. I think of the three, this is the one that sort of sits in the middle. Tornos is the most broken. Saheeli's possibly the most underpowered, unless you really build around the second ability. Whereas this one is just a good, fun commander, I think. You're going to have to work quite hard to really break this.
It's 6 mana, so you're not scaring anyone. Tornos is 2 mana, so everyone's scared. You're right. Broodaclad, I think, the fact that it's not a Planeswalker doesn't help that it's not the face commander. But if it was creatures, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the face commander. I like this one.
My favourite commander from this deck, though, is the mono-coloured one. So each of these decks have 3 commanders in their colours, so these have got 3 is it, but they also have one other legendary creature, and so the other one for this deck is Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor, which is 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary human knight, and this text box is amazing. Whenever Varchild deals combat damage to a player, that player creates that many 1/1 red survivor creature tokens. Survivors your opponents control can't block, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and when Varchild leaves the battlefield, gain control of all survivors.
So to summarise, if you hit someone, they get that many 1/1s,
Yes.
but they can't attack you.
Correct.
And when this creature leaves the battlefield, even if it comes back, you get all those survivors. You get all those 1/1s, those survivors.
Yep.
This is so cool.
So I want to
This is
put this
such a cool
into a deck with white and blue in it as well, so I can flicker Varchild whenever I want to. But yeah, also maybe some green so I can buff Varchild. So I'm building a 5-colour deck here. You want to buff Varchild so that you get as many red survivor creature tokens on your opponent's side of the battlefield as possible, and then you want to flicker her so that you can get them all back onto your side. Oh dear. Yeah, really cool commander.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I can. Yeah, it's a shame it's monocoloured. This would be.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. If this was Naya, no, not Naya. If this was Jeskai.
Well, if it was Naya or Jeskai, but then it would be quite broken. So it's probably a good thing that it's in red.
Yes, probably. Maybe it goes in your flicker deck that already plays red. So if you have one of those, congratulations. The next card we've got is not a creature. It's Enchanter's Bane for 1 and a red. It's an enchantment. This card, this one's exciting. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to its controller, unless that player sacrifices it. This is a great card. If someone plays Omniscience, which is 10 mana, which lets you play cards for free, which is awesome, and you're probably going to win the game. If they haven't won the game, and you play this, they're going to take 10 damage every turn. So, yeah, this is a fun card, and it's only 2 mana as well for 1 and a red. It's red's answer to enchantments, because they don't have one at the moment. Not really.
No, this is the first real mono red answer in any way to enchantments, other than Chaos Warp, which deals with target permanent, but it also gets something back at random out of the deck. So this, I like this space they're moving into. I think that this particular card is quite bad. I think that it's most of the problem enchantments aren't 10 mana. They're 3 or 4 or 5, which if they're really that problematic, they are going to win the game fairly quickly anyway. You're going to take 3 or 4 turns before they really notice that damage, probably. The other thing is, if you play this on turn 2, you're going to be taking 2 damage from it every turn, because it's not a May ability. If this is the only enchantment on the battlefield, you're going to have to pay 2 life, basically as an upkeep cost every turn. But
basically, this card sucks.
That's quite a small cost to pay if you do want to play it down on turn 2. But but what I think is great about this is really interesting design space. So this isn't outside the colour pie, but it's a way that red can deal with enchantments. It's totally on flavour, it's on colour, it's on theme. I think this is potentially, if they move further into this space, there could be some really exciting cards. This is quite exciting, but it's not very powerful.
Yeah, I don't actually know how I feel about because what you said about the colour pie, it doesn't break the colour pie, but it's a good kind of tool for red. I don't know how I feel about that, because Mark Rosewaters on his podcast once said we could build a green sorcery that gives target creature death touch and also makes target creature fight another creature, and that would be a kill spell for green, essentially. It would be you kill their creature, one of yours might die, and they could do that, and that doesn't break the colour pie, but they shouldn't do it. And the same way, he talks about we can get round these things. We can do this, but should we? Red should have problem with enchantments. That's the whole point. So does it need this card? Should it have this card even?
Okay, I think that because red is typically quite weak in commander, and this is one of its weaknesses, is that there are a lot of enchantments floating around in Commander, and red can't deal with them. So I've got an Enchantress deck, and I often play against a friend with a Grixis deck, and he has a real nightmare getting rid of any of my permanents, because all of my stuff's enchantments, and he's just got nowhere to go with it. And so I think for Commander this is actually quite a good space, because it will bring red a little bit closer up to the other colours, particularly colours like green and blue, and black, which are really powerful in all sorts of ways. White and red lagging behind. But printing it in a Commander product doesn't break standard, it doesn't enter modern, and so it's a way of not quite breaking the colour pie, but allowing red to do things it otherwise shouldn't do, and not ruining sort of the rest of Magic, if you see what I mean. So it's not breaking the colour pie across the board, it's just in a format which really needs it, because in 20 life formats, red is amazing. It's just that in a 40 life 4-player format, red is actually quite bad. And so giving it the tools to get closer to the other colours is I think it's quite a good thing. Yeah.
And as you say, this card isn't inherently broken, and in fact I can see this card being one of the ones when you need that 99th card, you don't know what to take out. I can see this one getting taken out, because unless you're playing burn, it doesn't really do anything.
No, and doing 3 damage on one rotation of the table is not very powerful in Commander.
No, it's really not. What I'm really amazed about is the fact that the name Enchanter's Bane wasn't taken.
That's a really cool name, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really surprised there isn't a green-white card already called Enchanter's Bane or something.
Well, we've spent ages on Enchanter's Bane already, so what do you think of the deck as a whole?
Sadly, the Izzet deck isn't the one that excites me the most, which is sad. It's the one I was most excited when I first saw the deck spoiled, but it's not the one that makes you go, oh yeah, I'm going to buy that one. Okay. Sadly.
I think that this is one of the ones with the most synergy out of all of them. I think that straight out of the box, this actually works together on its own. It's got quite a lot of ramp and quite a lot of card draw, and so you're already off to having a good deck. Some of the other decks aren't quite as good in some of those areas, but it's not a particularly exciting deck to be playing. It's pretty much what you'd expect out of a blue-red artifact-themed deck.
Yeah, I think just the problem is the last Izzet deck they came out with Commander was Mizzix, and that was
one of the best
highly
decks ever.
Exciting. So I did kind of, I think I put it on a bit of a pedestal.
Okay.
So the next deck is maybe a little bit more exciting, maybe not. This is the Jund Lands Matter deck, or Nature's Vengeance. Harry, do you want to take us away with the first card?
Yeah, so the face commander for this deck is another Planeswalker. Who would have thought it?
What?
This is Lord Windgrace. For 2 black, red, green, you get a legendary Planeswalker, Windgrace, which enters the battlefield with 5 loyalty counters. Its +2 is discard a card and then draw a card. If a land card is discarded this way, draw an additional card. Nice. Its -3 is return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. There's some synergy there. I like it. And its -11 is destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents and then create 6 2/2 green cat warrior creature tokens with Forest Walk. So where did the synergy go?
Well, you can't have too much synergy, Harry, otherwise it's just too synergist, and everyone knows that you can't have 3 abilities on a Planeswalker that are all good.
Yeah, so this is supposed to be a Lands Matter deck, but the main commander creates tokens as its big game-winning effect. Just like with Saheeli, that is not a particularly game-winning effect. These tokens do stick around after the end of the turn. You get 12 power on the board, but a -11 which just puts 12 power on the board is not particularly exciting.
No, it's not. Considering how much you have to invest to get there, you have to play this on turn 5 and then put up to 7, then 9, then 11, then you have to kill it or wait another turn. So yeah, Lord Windgrace's ultimate is a bit meh.
Yeah, I do like the first two abilities. So we don't normally care about the ultimate. You're rarely going to get there. It's just that's something that's quite exciting. That when you do get there, it's worth it. And so to have such a sort of meh ability is a bit of a disappointment. But it's +2 and it's -3 are really good, and they are really synergistic with a land deck. And I really like it.
Good. I'm glad you like it. This next one I really like. And you could argue that this one's lands matters, so we'll find out in a second. This is Gyrus, Waker of Corpses for X, black, red, green. You get a legendary creature Hydra, which is 0/0. Gyrus, Waker of Corpses, enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. This is cool, because if X is 1, it comes in with 4 1/1 counters. That's really, really cool. But it's not it. It also has, whenever Gyrus attacks, you may exile target creature card with lesser power from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card that's tapped and attacking. Exile the token at the end of combat. Now I said you could say that its lands matters, and if it matters how many lands are on the battlefield, then this comes in as a bigger creature, but that's it. However, it does have two really cool abilities, which I really like.
Yeah, I love that this takes into account command attacks. So
yeah,
you're never going to have a small Hydra. So even if you're going to have to pay that 2 command attacks, brilliant. That's fine. Those just come in as extra counters. I think of these 3. So we haven't read the third one yet. You listeners will be the judge of this, but for me, of these 3, this is the most exciting. I think this is the one that has the most exciting gameplay of any of them.
Yeah. The fact that you get to get stuff back from your graveyard tapped and attacking. If you've got some great attack triggers in there, this is sweet. You lose the token, and you lose the creature.
But this is totally fair. You're using your resources, and once they're gone, they're gone. You can't do anything super busted with this.
Yeah.
Oh, so I bet you can. You can definitely do something super busted with this.
But it's really good. Yeah, we like this one.
Definitely.
I think the biggest selling point for this is the command attacks kind of get around.
Yeah, definitely. The next one is Thantis the Warweaver, 3 black, red, green for a legendary spider. It's a 5/5 with vigilance and reach, which is a classic spider set of abilities. All creatures attack each combat if able, and whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thantis the Warweaver. So this is sort of like a Jund Voltron deck, which is also a rattlesnake to scare people away from attacking you.
Yeah,
but this is, again, where's the lands matters?
It doesn't matter. Lands don't matter.
Not really.
If you want to buy this deck for this card or Gyrus, buy the card, don't buy the deck. Unless there's other cards you want in the deck.
Maybe.
But yeah, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a 1/1 counter on Thantis. That's cool. I really like that ability. That's kind of like it's a Jund way of having propaganda or a ghostly prison.
Definitely.
But you get something out of it. I like it.
Yeah. So this deck has actually been heralded on Twitter as politics matters rather than lands matter. And so something you could do with this is you could politic one of your opponents to attack you with their 1/1 creatures, and so to make your Thantis better, in order that you can attack one of your other opponents with Thantis.
Yeah, that's really sweet. My favourite thing about that ability is it's an attack trigger. So it's not a deals damage to you. So if they attack you with a 5/5, it becomes a 6/6. Your Thantis becomes a 6/6. So it can now block. So it's not only does it discourage you from attacking because you get a reward, but also it just becomes harder to attack you the more you do it.
So yeah, I don't know what sort of deck you build around all 3 of these. The deck doesn't seem, there is actually some good lands matter stuff in the deck, but it's sort of like creatures which get +1/+1 for each land in your graveyard, things like that.
Yeah.
They're not super synergistic with any of these commanders. So I'm not entirely sure if the deck is built around any one of these in particular, or all 3 of them, which makes for a pretty scatty deck.
Yeah, I think what you've written in the notes, people annoyed, kind of sums it up.
Yeah,
People are annoyed about this deck.
generally, I think this was probably the deck that most people were excited about. Lands Matter. We've had so much good stuff for Lands Matter this year. There's things like Ramanap Excavator, Crucible of Worlds has just been reprinted. We've seen a reprint of Scape Shift as well in the most recent set. And so it feels like we've been gearing up to this amazing Commander deck. And in previous years, there's been so much synergy between the standard sets and the Commander sets. Like last year, there was all the stuff from Ixalan, which buffed your Vampire Commander Precon. All sorts of stuff like that, which it felt like maybe we were going to get there, and this is a bit of a letdown. I think of all four of these decks, this is the biggest letdown. It's sad to say, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad deck. The politics cards are quite fun, and one of my favourite cards in the deck is this next legendary creature. It's Zancha, Sleeper Agent.
This is so cool.
1 black-red for a legendary minion. It's a 5/5. As it enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. Zancha attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner controls. For 3 mana, Zancha's controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. Any player may activate this ability.
This is so cool. This is like, I don't know, I want every deck to have this card in it or cards like this. This is the most unstable card I've seen in Black Border, I think. I would say this is, because it's got, but it's so fun. This is great. I want to put this in decks. It's not necessarily the best, but for 3 mana, you'd like to draw a card when you have 3 extra mana. And, the gravy of your opponent losing 2 life is great.
Definitely. I think this puts me in mind of a card called Crown of Doom, which is an artifact which you give it to your opponent, and whenever creatures attack them, they get buffed. But they can then give it to another opponent. They can't give it back to you. So I like cards like this a lot. This is again, it's really they've gone into some really interesting space with this set. There are just a few cards dotted around which are different and unique, and this is one of them. I'm looking forward to the space that this opens up. This is new territory, and there are infinite possibilities with this. But yeah, this is probably one of my more favourite cards of the set, I think. Just because it gets everyone interacting, and sort of everyone at the table gets worried.
I can. I'm looking forward to the first time someone casts this, and everyone all at once going, "No, not me! Put it on them! Put it on me!" Just the kind of the panic. Please don't give it to me, because some people have no way of getting rid of it or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to build a quick game deck, and this is one way to get the game moving quickly.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
So the next deck.
This is the one I'm most excited about. Bant Enchantments deck, or Adaptive Enchantment. The face card, Harry, it's a Planeswalker. This is Estrid the Masked. For 1 green, white and a blue, you get a 3 loyalty legendary Planeswalker, Estrid. For +2, untap each enchanted permanent you control. Nice. For -1, create a white aura enchantment token named Mask, attached to another target permanent. The token has enchant permanent and totem armor. Which totem armor is basically when the creature would die, you can just get rid of the enchantment instead, and the creature doesn't die. Or for -7, put the top 7 cards of your library into your graveyard, return all non-aura enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, then do the same for aura cards. Hey, Harry! Synergy.
Wow, this so far is the most impressive commander we've seen. Most impressive Planeswalker. Synergy across the board, and an ultimate which potentially wins the game.
Yeah, hadn't occurred to me that it. Yeah, this is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so the last two are a bit meh, but this actually is a Planeswalker ultimate. I think this is basically Replenish, which is an expensive card which gets all the enchantments back from your graveyard.
This is.
Yeah, I love this. I love that you can put the aura with totem armor on any permanent, so it can go on a land or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you can untap each enchanted permanent you control as well. The Chain Veil spiked dramatically in price when this was spoiled.
What does the Chain Veil do?
So the Chain Veil is an artifact which means that you can activate... it's an activated ability on it which says you can activate Planeswalker abilities an additional time this turn. And it goes infinite with Estrid, basically, because you have to tap to activate that ability, and if you enchant it, then you can untap it. So so the Chain Veil in this makes Estrid quite broken, and so for that reason, I think so far this is one of the most powerful Planeswalkers we've seen out of this set.
Yes, I was never going to build an enchantment deck because Harry has a really good one. And then they went and bought this flipping deck out, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to build an enchantment deck. I'm probably just going to buy this one. I really like this. But can I read Kestia, Harry? Because I think this
Please
one
do.
may be one of my favourite cards in the set. This is Kestia the Cultivator. For 1 green, white, and a blue, you get a 4/4 legendary enchantment creature, Nymph. Nymph had to be a short word because it also said legendary enchantment creature on it.
Yeah.
It has Bestow for 3 green, white, blue, and Bestow says if you cast this card for its Bestow cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. And it also says enchanted creature gets +4/+4, and this is the one. Whenever an enchanted creature or enchantment creature you control attacks, draw a card. That's so good. Because you're playing an enchantment deck. So all your creatures are either enchantments or enchanted. So it basically says whenever a creature you control attacks, draw a card. And that would be stupid. And it's so cool. This is the card I want to build. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that once you've cast this once, when it dies, command attacks. It now costs the same as its Bestow cost. It's just yet another Bant commander that gets around command attacks.
Yeah, I think the thing I really like about Kestia is that it deals with the card advantage problem that auras have. So you, when you cast auras on your creatures, if somebody gets rid of it, that is a massive 2-for-1. So a single target removal spell becomes a double target removal spell. Yeah. And so auras generally are a really poor strategy in EDH, just because you're gonna quickly run out of cards to cast. But this deals with that problem because whenever you attack with an enchanted creature, you draw a card. So the card advantage issue is gone. So I really like that they've got around that problem, but they also have allowed it's got everything on there. So Kestia, when she attacks, will draw a card. The creature that Kestia is enchanted to, when it attacks, will draw a card. It's I think this is a very powerful commander. I really like this one.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this deck. I was building a Ink Treader heroic deck, Ink Treader being Bant with red already, with heroic, with lots of enchantments and creatures that want to be enchanted. I think I may just build a Bant deck and have Kestia as the commander because I just really like this card. Obviously Estrid will be in the 99 because it's stupid, but I really like Kestia. This is the card that really stands out to me.
Yeah, brilliant. The next one is Tuvasa the Sunlit. Green, white and blue for a legendary Merfolk Shaman. It's a 1/1, but Tuvasa gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, draw a card. So it's a legendary enchantress.
How do you feel about this, Harry?
It's not the best enchantress because it only works for the first enchantment spell you cast each turn. And one of the really nice things about enchantress is that you cast a cheap enchantment, you draw a card. It's an enchantment, you cast it, you draw a card, and it replaces itself. But the effect is still there in some form. It's still good, but it gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. So it becomes a big enchantress beat stick as well. So yeah, I really like this one. I think of the three, this is the one that's most appealing for me.
Yeah, when I saw that it was a Bant legendary Merfolk creature, before I'd read it, I could see the kind of +1/+1 in the text box. I was like, oh my gosh, is this a Merfolk Lord that's Bant and legendary that we can play as a Merfolk leader? I was not disappointed though. It's not what I thought it was, but it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely very cool. So this deck is really quite exciting. There is another legendary creature which I think we're actually going to talk about a little bit later on. We won't include it now, but I think this is the deck with the most synergy. everything in this screams enchantments matter. Everything in
Yeah.
this is geared towards enchanting your creatures or getting really powerful enchantments down, and it's big on card advantage. And I think one of the most interesting enchantments in the deck is Estrid's Invocation, which is 2 and a blue for an enchantment which says you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment you control, except it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. You may exile this enchantment. If you do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So each turn it can become a different enchantment. That's a card which hasn't been made before. There's nothing very similar to it, and that is really powerful.
This is I would say this is the enchantment version of Mirage Mirror, which is an artifact where you pay mana to change it until the end of turn. This is an enchantment deck. This is so cool. This is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want another propaganda until your next turn?
I think so. I do. Yes.
Do you want another Enchantress's Presence so you can draw yet more cards? Yes, please. What so, yeah. What do you need this turn? What have you got on the board? Let's double up on that effect. Yeah, really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think the way to evaluate this card for each deck is: do you play an enchantment you really like? I think you have to be playing more than one. If you're just playing one enchantment that helps your deck, if you can guarantee that you're going to get that enchantment out, then this is really good. So if you've maybe got between 8 and 10 enchantments that help your game plan, I think you need to think about whether this goes in that deck, because you're always going to want more of that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've also got a big old creature here, Nylia's Colossus, which is 6 and a green for a 6/6 enchantment creature giant, and it has Constellation, which says whenever Nylia's Colossus or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. If you thought you misheard me, no. I said double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. In an enchantment deck, this is so good. This is make all your creatures really big. If you've got a bunch of really cheap enchantments, then your creatures are getting massive.
Yeah, well, Estrid's Invocation enters the battlefield every turn. So that's one. There are plenty of bestow cards in the deck, which or Umbras, things like Bear Umbra and Snake Umbra, which make your creatures bigger. And so there's a bit of a sub theme here of big creatures going to combat. The combat step is quite important in this deck, and this is one of the cards that makes the deck really effective in combat. I love Constellation. I love Constellation cards in Theros. There are some really good ones which will go into the deck if this is the route you want to go down. But just the fact that you get a repeatable effect whenever you cast an enchantment. So it's like what we were saying, I think last episode, we were saying anything which tacks draw a card onto something you're already doing. Something which tacks any effect onto what your theme already is. So, if this only happened once, if this said when Nylia's Colossus enters the battlefield, double target creature's power and toughness, it would probably be quite good. But the fact that you're going to be casting enchantments anyway, and you can just do this every time, it's sort of incidental. I think this is really good. It does cost 7 mana, so in particular this card is a bit tough. You're going to want to be winning the game when you play this.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head. The fact that it tacks that little bit of text onto the bottom of each of your enchantments. If you've also got 2 of your enchantresses out, they also say draw a card. So
exactly.
Yeah, this is I like this one.
So as we said, I think this deck is probably the most synergistic of all of them, and probably it's so difficult to say at this stage, but probably I think it's probably the best deck among them, just because it actually all the cards work together. This is, of all of them, the only deck where I would keep all 3 commanders in the deck and be hoping to draw one of them. And it's also probably the only deck where you can take any one of those commanders out of the box, play it with that commander, and the deck will work completely with it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It just feels more focused than the others. The fact that they all say the word enchantment on their box, but the others don't really all mention the theme of the deck, which is exactly odd.
Yeah. So we've got one more deck. Tim, do you want to take us into this?
Yes, we've got Esper, top card of the Library Matters deck, or Subjective Reality. So, award for the creepiest planeswalker ever goes to Animatau.
Aminatu?
How do you say that? Aminatu. You say that how you like it. I'm going to say Aminatu because it sounds the creepiest. The Fate Shifter. For white, blue, black, you get a 3 loyalty planeswalker. Aminatu. You say that how you want. We're going to call her Am from now on. +1, draw a card, then put
Why
a
not
card
Amy?
from your... Yeah, why not Amy, Tim? Come on. +1, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your library. -1, exile another target permanent you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. And -6, choose left or right. That, by the way, that sentence is so cool. -6, choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than Amy, the Fate Shifter, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. So basically, shift the cards around the table. It's so weird. It's such a weird effect.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that normally goes into red, but red isn't in the deck.
Yeah.
This is... I don't think this effect has ever been printed before. There are similar things where everyone gains control of stuff. But yeah, you just say, right, everyone's developed their board, let's all swap decks, basically.
Yeah, it's so strange. Don't get me wrong, it's really cool, and I can see some really, really awesome time. Unless someone's playing a very combo-heavy deck and they've got the pieces of their combo, I can't see people really wanting to stop this. I mean, of course, if you've got your big creature out, you don't want to give it to someone else. But there's definitely always going to be people who want this effect to resolve because they haven't got a board state, but the person to the right or the left has. So this is big. That is a massively political effect. I like that.
Yeah, and if somebody to your left or right has a board which will probably win the game in their next turn, you can potentially take that and win the game with it.
Yeah, obviously where you sit in Commander has always mattered.
But now
This
it matters
makes
even
it
more.
really matter. It's like, are you sitting next to the Mizzix deck where their only creature is Mizzix, or are you sitting next to the Vampire Tribal deck?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one we've got is Yennet, Cryptic Sovereign. For 2 white, blue, black, you get a 3/5 legendary creature, Sphinx, with flying, vigilance, and menace. Whenever Yennet, Cryptic Sovereign attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If that card's converted mana cost is odd, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, draw a card.
Wow.
And then some. That's cool.
Do you think Wizards of the Coast have been taking notes from Hearthstone? Because this is the sort of thing that Hearthstone cares about. There are decks which care if all of the cards in it are odd. So yeah, this is design space that Magic hasn't really gone into before. This is
They've got the you can't cast even spells, Eldrazi.
which definitely goes into this deck.
Yeah, I mean, what deck doesn't that go into? This is I like this a lot.
This is probably one of my favourite. I think this is my favourite commander out of this deck because it basically, it's just so wacky. It does something totally different, but you don't get to have a curve in this deck. You want to, if you build this deck, you've got to have cards at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, and you probably want quite a lot of cards at 9 and 11.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good point. Casting them for free.
You don't get to curve out in this deck at all. But really interesting effect. The next one is Verena, Lich Queen. For 1 white, blue, black, you get a legendary zombie wizard. It's a 4/4, and whenever you attack with 1 or more zombies, draw that many cards, then discard that many cards, and you gain that much life. For 2 mana, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. The internet has gone a little bit nuts about this card because this is an Esper zombie lord. Not a zombie lord, zombie commander. We've had a blue-black zombie commander. We've had a few of them for a while. There are plenty of white zombies which came out with Amonkhet, which people were wanting to put into decks. Now you can have all of the good ones in one deck.
Yeah, this is cool. So the next card we've got is Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. And for ease's sake, from now on we will call Eureka. 1 blue-black as a 1/3 legendary creature, human ninja, which by the way is really cool. Commander Ninjutsu is its first ability. For blue and a black, return an unblocked creature you control to hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone tapped and attacking. What? This is so weird and cool. It also says, whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Again, top card matters. Commander Ninjutsu. Awesome name. Sold. This is cool.
Yeah, this is a very weird take on a classic mechanic, but we've never had a ninja commander before, and now we have. So again, the internet got very excited about this card, and I think that we're going to start seeing a lot of ninja decks.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the brilliant things about ninjutsu is that it's unexpected. They don't know you've got it in your hand. They don't block your creature, and you swap it out for some kind of effect, like Ninja of the Deep Hours will draw you a card when it deals combat damage, things like that. It's always a deals combat damage effect, so it needs to be unexpected. So the problem with Yuriko is that everyone's going to know that you've got a commander which is a ninja, but that doesn't stop it being fun.
No. If you just have to attack with 2 creatures when they've only got 1 blocker, or attack someone with no blockers,
or unblockability and things like that.
And this gets around command attacks, which is something to take note of.
Yes, it does.
The question is, does it count if you command an ninjutsu, it's out and it dies? Do you then pay command attacks on it?
No, because I think it's an activated ability. And you don't cast it; you just put it onto the battlefield. Yeah. So ninjutsu you can't counter the spell if it's being ninjutsu'd in. So I'm pretty certain it doesn't add to the number of times the commander has been cast from the command zone, which will come up in a bit.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, there's a little spoiler for 10 minutes' time. The next card from this deck that we want to talk about is Sower of Discord. It's 4 black for a demon, which is a 6/6. It's got flying, and when it enters the battlefield, choose 2 players. Whenever damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, the other chosen player also loses that much life. Wow! So this basically ties 2 people together to the same bleak fate, and so you are probably going to want to have a fairly strong team going with the other player, because those 2 players are going to team up on you.
Yeah. This is a fun card. Design wise, I think, excluding the kind of very vocal disappointment about this set from people, I think design wise for Commander and just kind of politics and stuff, I think people sometimes don't like what Wizards print, and they kind of force politics. I don't mind that, and I think they've done it in the best way yet. This feels the most kind of organic, and I really like it.
Yes, this gives you, the person playing the politicking cards, the most choice over how the politicking works.
Yeah. As opposed to vote cards, you mean?
Exactly, yes.
Where you're giving your opponents the choice, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And if Amy wasn't creepy enough, we've got Aminatu's Augury, and the art is so creepy, it's her blowing some moths out of her hand.
I actually think that this is one of the best pieces of artwork in the set.
Yes, don't take my creepy insults for not being incredible.
It's definitely creepy, but it's creepy in a really beautiful way.
So for 6 blue, you get a sorcery. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. Until end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast a card of that type from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost. That's a lot of words.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. Interesting note on the design of this card. It was originally exile the top 7 cards of your library, but they made it 8 because there are 8 card types. They just changed it because there is a possibility that one day you're going to flip the top 8 cards and be able to cast every single one.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this deck as a whole?
It doesn't excite me as much as the enchantment one, but in terms of synergy, I think it's definitely more coherent than the first two. It's not as in your face as the enchantment one. There's definitely, obviously you've got a zombie kind of commander. It's not a lord, but it wants zombies. You've got some great top of the library. You've got ninjas. You've got probably the coolest politics card in Sower of Discord. Yeah, I like this deck. It doesn't, I guess I say, it doesn't excite me as much, but it is really, really cool. I really like it.
Yeah, there are a few miracles cards in this deck as well. So
cool.
they get cheaper when they're the first card you draw. So I mean, I was looking forward to a little bit more top card matters on the Planeswalker. There's only really one ability on her that really cares about that, but in a sense, it's sort of like a mini brainstorm. So you get to, if you've got a miracle card in your hand, you can put it back on top of your library so that next time you draw a card, you can cast it for cheap. So there is some synergy. The synergy is quite subtle in this deck. I think each individual card, there are more individual cards in this deck which are exciting and quirky than in any of the other decks. They've really pushed the boat out in individual card design space with this deck. And so this is probably one of the coolest and quirkiest decks we've seen in a Commander pre-con set for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 decks, but we've actually got another set of cards we want to talk about. There is a whole cycle of spells with Storm in the title. So this is a Commander Storm cycle. And each of these, there's one for each colour. Each of these says when you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So there's sort of a general overarching theme of all the decks that they want to get you to cast the commander as many times as possible to make these spells better. So the white one, Imperial Storm, is 4 white and says create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Fairly underwhelming.
People have been comparing this card to Decree of Justice. And there's another Angels card as well that's quite similar. When you add it all up and like amount of mana spent and kind of everything that's going on, this one is the one that kind of comes out on top mathematically. I don't know the maths, but I know that if you're playing an Angels deck, you probably want both.
Sure. Yeah, I think probably not great in the deck. I think it's in the enchantment deck. Not necessarily great in there, but in the right deck. What does the blue one say?
Echo Storm for 3 blue. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact. This is stupid.
Okay, this one is broken. I really like this. If you've got a cheap commander and you can cast it several times, this could be pretty busted.
Yeah, it's important to note the extra little bit on the same. They've all got the same clause, but this one says you may choose new targets for the copies of the spell. So you can copy lots of different artifacts. If you've got Paradox Engine out and this gets copied twice, and you target Paradox Engine, and you get 4 Paradox Engines on the battlefield.
Unfortunately, Paradox Engine is a legendary artifact.
Well, then forget that. And if you've
for that reason,
and if you have a mirror gallery, then it's broken and they should ban it. No, I really like this card.
Yeah.
What's the next one, Harry?
Skullstorm says each opponent sacrifices a creature. Each opponent who can't loses half their life, rounded up. So come at me.
How much does it cost?
7 black.
So expensive.
Okay, it's not cheap, but it is powerful. I want to cast this when you're playing your Mizzix deck. But if you can play this somehow after a board wipe and nobody's got any creatures, suddenly everybody's down to 1 life or something.
Yeah, this is fun. Well, I'd be surprised if everyone goes down to 1 life, because that means everyone's on 2 life.
Yeah, but this gets copied for every time you've cast your commander. So 40,
Oh my gosh.
40
For
down to
those who
20,
didn't get
down
it,
to
this
10,
card is
down to
so
5,
cool.
Down to 2, down to 1.
This card is so cool.
Yeah.
I forgot that it gets copied. Oh my gosh. I like this card a lot. The next one is Fury Storm. Again, by the way, how did they still have the name Fury Storm? For 2 red, it says obviously the same clause and copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This one's an instant. I really like this one. Goes in Mizzix. Definitely goes in Mizzix because you cast Mizzix so many times when you play it because it's the only creature and it gets killed all the time.
Yeah.
So if you've cast this 4 times and you get to cast Fury Storm, and then you fork Fury Storm, and you've also played that the sorcery version of fork that we talked about last week, and you get a bunch of spells. Yeah, this goes in Mizzix. I like it.
So you're currently living in Magical Christmas Land.
Yes.
This is the only one that's an instant. So all of the other 4 in this cycle of sorceries, this is the only one that's an instant, because obviously it has to be an instant to work this way.
Yes.
But yeah, this is even if you've only cast your commander once, it's a red counter spell. Or
It's words cannot describe how excited I am about this one.
the last one is Genesis Storm, 4 green, and it says reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an on-land permanent card. You may put that card onto the battlefield and then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield on the bottom of your library in a random order. And so if you've cast your commander 3 times, you get 3 non-land permanents. It's sort of like a Genesis wave with a fixed mana cost and not nearly as broken.
But still fun.
Definitely.
I mean, if you get to do this a bunch of times, I like this a lot.
Yeah, it's good. So this theme of casting your commander as many times as possible has bled over into a new enchantment called Myth Unbound. Tim, please read Myth Unbound for us.
Myth Unbound. For 2 and a green, you get an enchantment that says your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast from the command zone this game. It also says whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, draw a card, which is just gravy. I read this and was thinking, all right, so if I've got a commander that, say, it arbitrarily costs 3 and a green, I cast it once, it costs 3 and a green. I cast it again, it costs 2 and a green. And then to the point where I'm just casting it for green. But that's not how it works because command attacks. So it basically halves your command attacks. That's all it does.
Yes, but like we said, with if obviously this can't go into a Mizzix deck, but your Mizzix gets removed all the time. There are plenty of commanders with green in them that get removed because they are problem commanders, and so this just helps you get it out. It also says whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, draw a card. So on the whole, this is going to help you out. I think this is the most overrated new card in the set. I think that people are looking at this as really powerful and really it'll just go in every deck with green. But if you're like, how many times do you actually cast your commander in a game? 2, 3, and so what you're doing is you're paying 3 mana to draw maybe 3 cards if this card stays out, and to reduce the cost of your commander by 2 probably.
So while I agree with you, devil's advocate, you say, oh, you only cast your commander 2 or 3 times a game. Is that because it just costs too much?
Not necessarily. I just think that if your commander is really crucial to your game plan, you either get it out early and you protect it, or you wait until the best time and then you cast it once or maybe twice if you have to. But I think the problem with this card is that people are going to put it into every deck with green in because they think it goes in. I don't think it does. I think it goes into some decks where the commander is probably fairly cheap to begin with, and you want to keep casting it because the commander's got an ETB effect or something like that.
Or it gets killed a lot.
Exactly. And so sometimes, and also depending on your meta, your meta might just go, right, let's just get rid of his commander every time he casts it. And so like in my Selvala deck, this I can see putting this in because in a mono-coloured deck, it's not too big a deal to take up a slot with an effect like this. But I think in most decks, you're just going to want to put another ramp spell in.
Yeah.
You'd be better off with a Kadama's Reach in most decks.
Yeah.
You're very rarely going to draw cards off it. There are much better card draw spells. So if that's why you're putting it in, just put something else in, for goodness sake.
Does this go in your enchantments deck?
Definitely not. No. In that deck, the commander is Kanea Santiro. I cast K&T once on turn 4 or 5 to help me ramp and get me a few more cards into my hand. If it gets removed, I very rarely cast it again. It's not crucial to the theme of the deck. It's just there to help me get off to a running start.
Yeah.
While we're on that subject, I think a lot of decks are moving in that direction. I think the format as a whole is going to be refreshed by this set of Commander Precons because they're quite focused. I know that last year we had tribal decks, but generally a lot of the commanders that are seeing a lot of play are sort of generic good stuff commanders. They are commanders which work with lots of different themes. So Atraxa, for example, works with loads of different stuff. K&T, all of the 4-colour commanders from Commander 2016, they're not hemmed into a particular theme. And so I think it's really good that these decks are, because they're new, people are going to want to play them, they're exciting, they're honed into a particular theme, and you're going to have to build quite carefully around your commander, which is something that I don't think we've been seeing too much of recently.
No. I think the fact that we've got 4-colour commanders is the point rather than them being decks. I agree with you. Like they're not. This is what K&T does. When you said K&T earlier and you said it ramped, before you said that I didn't know what it does. All I know it as is the deck that lets me play 4 colours if I'm not playing black.
Exactly.
Atrax is the only 4-colour commander I know what it does.
So anyway, this set on the whole, definitely good for the format.
I agree.
We have got, so Myth Unbound might be the most overrated card and my personal pet peeve of the set, but we have, I think, Tim, got a favourite card between us.
Yeah.
Now we've been through all these cards, is it still your favourite?
It's in the top 3.
Okay.
And the top 3 are in flux.
Sure. Well, this is still my favourite card because it is a flavour win. The art is fantastic. As soon as I saw the artwork, I actually went and downloaded it and changed my phone background to this artwork. It's that good looking. I love it. It's in really good colours. This is brilliant. This is Arixmathes Slumbering Isle. 2 green-blue for a legendary Kraken. It is a 12/12 for 4 mana.
Stop there. I don't want to hear any more. I want to hear that I can play a 12/12 for 4 mana.
Well, you can, but there's a little bit of a drawback. So Arixmathes enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. As long as Arixmathes has a slumber counter on it, it's a land. Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from Arixmathes, and it has tap, add green-blue.
What I love about this is on turn 4, you can play your commander and ramp. It comes in tapped. You can't use the mana straight away. But, oh boy.
But it means on turn 5, if you play a land, you've got 7 mana.
Yeah, so then you can cast your big broken commander, which you've already cast, so you can cast something else.
Or you could cast 5 1-mana spells. Suddenly, Arixmathes is no longer a creature, and you can attack for 12. But the flavour of this is just brilliant. I love it. This is, I think, of all the cards in this set, this is the one I want to pick up most.
Yeah. This comes in the enchantment deck, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, yeah. So this, we mentioned earlier that we were omitting the legendary creature from that deck that was not banned. This is the other one. Yeah.
If you haven't seen the art, the awesome flavour win on this card is that it is an island. But if you can see under the water, it's a kraken, and you're waking the kraken up, and it's huge. It's awesome art.
I feel really sad for the town which has been built on the Kraken's back. So there's a whole port town built, and any minute the Kraken's going to wake up and the town's just going to be ruined. Bye-bye.
If you've ever heard of thalassophobia, it's a fear of open water.
That's why Thassa's called Thassa.
Oh, gosh, yes. Flip. Thalassophobia. There's a great subreddit called Thalassophobia, and it's just really scary pictures of the sea. It's great, and I am subscribed because it's just too scary.
Oh, wow. Okay. I want to go and look at this. Anyway, Arixmathes, will trigger your thalassophobia.
Yeah. So, Harry, what do you think of the set? Are you going to buy any of the decks? Do they excite you, or are you just wholly disappointed?
I'm not wholly disappointed because I think there's some really good design space that's been explored. There are some unique cards. There are some cards which are probably effects that we've been wanting for a while. So on the whole, I'm not disappointed, but I'm not going to buy any of the decks because the value just is not there. I think that these are decks which are probably realistically aimed at newer Commander players rather than established players. It's probably just better if you're an established player just to pick up the singles that you like.
Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the really disappointing things about this, and this is what the internet as a whole has been disappointed by, is the fact that they raised the retail price of these. And the sort of expectation there was that they were going to be able to put more valuable reprints into it, and we just haven't seen those. It's like, well, where are they? There are 2 in the Enchantments deck which really matter, Bear Umbra and Enchantress's Presence. Other than that, there are very few really poignant reprints. I think we were expecting to see a lot more expensive cards. Things like in the Lands Matter deck, Oracle of Moldiah, people were really looking forward to a potential reprint of that. That's the perfect place to reprint it. And so I think given the higher price, this is just not worth it. The decks as a whole are quite basic. So other than the cards that we've talked about, the new ones, it's very simple cards, which is why I think it's probably aimed at newer players. And so if you are a newer player, please do not be put off. These are a fantastic product. It's still one of the best products that Wizards makes, and it's definitely these are going to play brilliantly out of the box. You're going to have a really good play experience, and they've tested these. These are made by professional game makers. They know how to make something which is fun. Do not be put off. They are still going to be fun, but they're not what we're expecting.
Yeah. I think Wizards know how important the Commander set is. They know how important Commander as a format is, and how many people are coming back into Magic because of this format. So they are aware of just how much of an impact EDH has on Magic as a business. So I think it seems like they don't. If you're already an established player and you play Magic and you've been playing for a few years at least, you think, well, if this is such an important format, why is this such a lackluster set that you're printing? But I think what Harry said is hit the nail on the head. It's not for you. Maybe some of the cards are for you, but the pre-constructed decks maybe aren't for you.
Yeah, these are just fantastic. If your friend plays Commander and you want to get involved, you can pick one of these up. And the thing is, they're actually quite tunable because they haven't gone too hard on making a lot of these decks hard on a theme. There's a lot of variation. You could take a lot of different routes with them. But yeah, generally, bit of a disappointment. I just do not understand why Wizards didn't reprint some of the expensive cards.
Yeah.
They're always saying that they don't care about the secondary market, and so it seems odd that they didn't print valuable cards, because all they're going to do by printing valuable cards in these is sell more of them.
Yeah.
Not just to new players, but to established players as well. People are going to pick them up. However, there's an argument on the flip side that with the True Name Nemesis problem, if they print really powerful or really expensive cards, they're not going to be available for new players. They're going to be picked up by established players who know what they're looking for. They're going to tear the decks apart, take out the couple of cards they want, sort of put the rest in their chaff bin, and keep going. And there's going to be a scarcity for newer players. And so maybe they were trying to steer away from that. Who knows? But on the whole, not what we were expecting. Definitely not what I would consider to be the best year of pre-cons yet.
No. Are you buying any?
No.
I am. I'm going to buy the Enchantments one. I'm really excited about it.
So that one as a whole is the one that is definitely most exciting, and it's because it's the one that's most coherent, and it's got some of the most exciting cards. I don't say that just because I love Bant Enchantments. When I saw these cards, I was really prepared to have a second Bant Enchantment deck, because some of these cards are so cool, but I'm just gonna have to pick up the singles that I like and build a deck out of those. But listeners, do go out and pick these up if they seem exciting. These decks, on the whole, every year have been fantastic, and they are best played with the other decks from this set. They are tested and built with the other decks in this set in mind, and so they all play against each other really well. And from looking at the deck lists here, I think that this year's not going to be any different. They're all going to be brilliant together.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
So anyway, I think that's about all we've got time for. What an interesting set. Tell us your stories of picking these up and playing with them. We want to know if you are not disappointed, particularly if you think that this is the best set yet. Let us know at TPSMTG on Twitter.
Or you can email us turnpapersideways@gmail.com.
For all of these details and more, you can see the show notes. Tim, is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
I'd just like to say thank you for listening.
Cheerio.